Mental health is something that affects every single one of us directly or indirectly. It doesn't matter where you come from, how old you are, or what your background is. Mental health doesn't discriminate. Yet, despite its profound impact on our lives, it remains shrouded in a cloud of silence. Why? Why is it that in a world where we're more open about so many things, mental health remains something people are reluctant to address? Why do we hesitate to speak about it, seek help, or even acknowledge its presence? The truth is, mental health struggles are still seen as a weakness, something to hide, something we don't discuss in public. Let's take a step back for a moment. Imagine being in pain, not physical pain, but emotional pain. You feel it in your chest, your mind constantly racing, your heart heavy with a sense of fear or sadness that you can't shake. Now, imagine feeling like you can't talk about it, like the very idea of sharing your struggles would make you look weak, or, worse, crazy. For many people, this is the reality. The reality is that mental health struggles are often invisible, yet they're some of the hardest to face because of the overwhelming stigma attached to them. The silence surrounding mental health isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. It keeps people from seeking the help they desperately need, from opening up to friends and family, from being vulnerable, and ultimately from healing. Society has cultivated this idea that people who struggle with mental health are somehow flawed or less capable than others. The truth is, mental health challenges don't make someone weaker in many ways. They make someone stronger for having to cope with them every day. There are millions of people right now who feel like they're trapped inside their own minds, afraid to reach out because they fear being judged. They fear being labeled, treated differently, or misunderstood. Why is this stigma still so powerful in the 21st century, when we're more connected than ever, when we talk about social issues with more openness than before? The problem lies in the way mental health is still portrayed in the media and society. For years, we've seen movies and TV shows portray individuals with mental health challenges as the villains, the crazy ones, the people who can't be trusted or understood. This portrayal has shaped our perception of what mental illness looks like. But the truth is, mental health struggles are nuanced. They aren't confined to dramatic outbursts or extreme cases. Mental health issues can look like fatigue, a quiet sadness, a constant feeling of being overwhelmed, or even an intense fear of speaking up about something that seems small. It's all too easy to dismiss someone's mental health concerns when they don't fit the stereotype. But it's not just the media that plays a role in this stigma. Cultural influences also perpetuate silence. In some cultures, mental health is still viewed as a sign of weakness, or even as a curse. For many, seeking help feels like an impossible step, because it would mean admitting failure or inadequacy. This perception is often rooted in the idea that if someone is struggling, they're not strong enough to handle life on their own. But the truth is, no one can do everything on their own. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. Mental health stigma affects every aspect of life, from workplace culture to personal relationships. How many times have you heard someone say, "I'm just stressed," or "I'm fine," when, deep down, they're far from fine? This reluctance to talk openly about how we're really feeling perpetuates a cycle of isolation and misunderstanding. It makes it harder to connect with others on a deeper level. It creates an environment where people feel alone in their struggles, even when they're surrounded by others who may be feeling the same way. The good news is, things are starting to change. Slowly, the conversation is starting to shift. Celebrities, athletes, and public figures are beginning to speak out about their mental health struggles, giving people the courage to do the same. Mental health organizations are pushing for awareness campaigns and more open dialogue about the importance of mental well-being. There's a growing movement to break the silence, to challenge the stigma, and to make mental health a topic that's discussed openly and without shame. But even with all this progress, the stigma still exists. Why is it so hard to talk about mental health? Why does something that affects so many of us still have such a heavy, unspoken weight attached to it? Perhaps part of it is because we're still uncomfortable with vulnerability. We're afraid of being judged, of being seen as fragile or weak. We fear the idea that others might not understand, or that they might think less of us for having struggles that seem difficult to explain. It's time we stop treating mental health as something to whisper about or avoid altogether. It's time we begin to embrace the idea that mental health struggles are a part of the human experience, and that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. We need to create spaces where people can express how they're feeling without fear of judgment or rejection. We need to create a world where mental health is viewed with the same importance as physical health. The silence must end. Talking about mental health should not be something extraordinary. It should be part of the everyday conversation. The more we talk about it, the more we normalize the experience, the more people will feel comfortable coming forward and seeking the help they need. It's not just about breaking the silence, it's about ending the shame that comes with it. We have the power to change the narrative. We have the power to make mental health something that's openly discussed and respected. But it starts with each of us. It starts with sharing our stories, being open about our experiences, and offering support to those who need it. Mental health doesn't need to be a taboo subject. It needs to be something that is understood, respected, and cared for, in the same way that physical health is. The next time someone opens up about their mental health struggles, don't look away or brush it off. Listen, validate, and offer support. Show them that it's okay to talk, and that they are not alone. We're all human, and we all deserve the space to speak our truths without fear. The silent stigma around mental health is loud enough. It's time to turn the volume down and start the conversation. The reality is that mental health struggles are not limited to a small fraction of the population. Mental health affects millions of people each year, yet it is often dismissed or misunderstood. When we don't talk about mental health, it creates a culture of silence, where people feel like they are the only ones dealing with these issues. This feeling of isolation can make their struggles even worse, amplifying feelings of shame and guilt. If we continue to ignore mental health, we perpetuate the idea that it's something to be ashamed of, something unworthy of attention, and in doing so, we rob people of the opportunity to heal. Let's be honest for a moment, there are still far too many places, both physical and metaphorical, where mental health is still considered a weakness. In many families, workplaces, and communities, mental health is something that's brushed aside. If someone is feeling down or overwhelmed, there is a tendency to dismiss it as just a phase, something that can be fixed by toughening up or getting over it. This harmful belief system sends the message that people should be able to handle everything on their own, regardless of the emotional toll it's taking on them. But here's the truth. No one is invincible. We all have our limits, and sometimes, asking for help is exactly what we need to push through the tough moments. The roots of this stigma are deep, and they are influenced by centuries of cultural conditioning. For generations, people have been taught to value some. While these traits are valuable in many circumstances, they don't provide the emotional support needed when someone is struggling with their mental health. Emotions, after all, are a natural part of being human. They don't make us weak. They make us real. They make us vulnerable. And most importantly, they make us capable of growth. Yet, this cultural ideal of toughness often pushes people to hide their struggles, not only from others, but even from themselves. This self-silencing can be incredibly damaging, as it prevents people from acknowledging their pain and reaching out for help. The stigmatization of mental health is also a reflection of how society views vulnerability. Vulnerability has long been associated with weakness, an idea that is ingrained in our culture. The truth, however, is that vulnerability is actually a form of strength. It takes courage to admit that you are struggling, and even more courage to speak up and seek help. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we create space for connection, not just with others, but with ourselves. It's in these moments of honesty and openness that we are able to heal and grow, but only if we're able to break free from the shackles of shame and judgment. So, what can we do to break the silence and challenge the stigma? The first step is to acknowledge the reality of mental health. We need to stop pretending that mental illness is something rare, or something that only affects a specific group of people. The fact is, mental health struggles can touch anyone, regardless of their background, upbringing, or social standing. We need to create a culture that understands that mental health is just as important as physical health. When we're sick with the flu or dealing with a chronic illness, we seek medical attention without hesitation. So why is it that when our mental health is compromised, we hesitate or outright refuse to seek help? It's time to treat mental health with the same urgency and care. A key part of breaking the stigma is normalizing mental health conversations. The more we talk about mental health, the less taboo it becomes. We need to make it a common practice to ask each other how we're doing emotionally, just as we would ask about someone's physical health. By incorporating these conversations into our daily lives, we can begin to dismantle the harmful beliefs that make people feel like they have to keep their struggles to themselves. Imagine if, instead of being uncomfortable when a friend opens up about their mental health, we responded with compassion, understanding, and support. Imagine if, when someone confesses their anxiety, we didn't jump to offer a quick fix or brush it off. Instead, we listened, validated their feelings, and made sure they knew that it's okay not to be okay. One of the most important aspects of this shift is supporting people when they seek help. We need to provide more than just the space for people to open up. We need to ensure that there is adequate care available for those who need it. This includes better access to therapy, counseling, and community resources. Mental health care should not be something that is only accessible to those who can afford it. Everyone deserves the right to heal. In many parts of the world, mental health services are still underfunded and undervalued. If we are truly committed to addressing the mental health crisis, we need to invest in resources and ensure that they are available to those who need them most. Mental health education is another crucial element of this conversation. We need to teach young people about the importance of mental health from an early age. This doesn't just mean discussing the basics of mental illness, but also teaching healthy coping mechanisms, emotional regulation, and the importance of the more we equip the next generation with the tools they need to take care of their mental well-being, the more equipped they will be to handle life's challenges without feeling overwhelmed or helpless. It's about building resilience from within and helping young people understand that mental health isn't something to fear, it's something to care for, just like we would any other aspect of our health. It's also important to challenge the stigma at a systemic level. We need to advocate for policy changes that prioritize mental health, both in the workplace and in schools. Workplaces that foster a positive mental health culture by providing mental health days, reducing stress, and offering mental health resources are essential in helping people maintain their emotional well-being. Similarly, schools should be places where students feel safe to explore their emotions and seek help when they need it. Mental health education should be incorporated into school curriculums, allowing young people to learn about emotional health, just as they would about physical health. And finally, we need to lead by example. We need to practice what we preach. If we expect others to speak out about their mental health struggles, we must first be willing to share our own. This vulnerability creates a ripple effect, encouraging others to do the same. When we take the first step in sharing our own mental health journeys, we show others that they are not alone. We give them the permission to speak their truth without fear of judgment. Breaking the stigma surrounding mental health isn't easy. It's a long process that requires patience, empathy, and dedication. But it's a journey worth taking. The more we talk about mental health openly, the more we normalize the idea that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. The more we encourage these conversations, the more likely it is that people will feel safe enough to ask for the support they need. It's time to embrace mental health as a part of our humanity, and to stop seeing it as something to be ashamed of, because the only shame is not speaking out.